Welcome to another episode of the Tech Transfer Podcast. I'm Dave Brown. I'm here with Marta Zgagacz, who is the Colorado University Senior Director of Venture Partners. We have the best bowl game this year in 2024 is going to be the Alamo Bowl between BYU and Colorado. But we're not talking about football today. We're talking about tech transfer, another important thing we do. So Marta, will you please tell us a little about your office and what you do over there?
Great. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate the opportunity to share our story with your audience. So we, as venture partners, we're what is traditionally known as the tech transfer office. But we endeavor to do things maybe a little bit with a twist. So we have a process that we built. It's kind of a bridge that we built for our customers, for our inventors, for them to walk through. They can, hit different programs that they need on their journey, from discovery to whatever that might be, a partnership with a company, VC funding, and our teams take different paths, but they hit some essential resources that are pretty common for all of them to take. For example, the I-Corps program. So we start them off with starting blocks. It's kind of customer discovery light. Also super helpful for researchers who are looking to be competitive in grant funding or build partnerships with existing companies. We have a vibrant mentor network, a pre-accelerator. We have some non-dilutive funding competitions, and of course, dilutive funding available through other programs. So lots and lots of programs. We drown our inventors in our resources.
Well, great. It seems to be working, though. We'll get into the numbers, but you've had a really great year and are running a really impressive operation over there. One thing you made me wonder is, so Colorado University, you're at Boulder, right? Do you have, how many campuses do you have?
We have 4 campuses. So CU Boulder, Anschutz, Colorado Springs, and Denver.
Okay, great. So, and you are an entrepreneur yourself. You launched Futurigene. You co-founded that. So if you could tell us a little bit about that, was that a university spin out or how did you get into entrepreneurship?
So that was a university spin out. I just by accident connected with university inventors and decided to launch the company with them, to go on that path. And it was quite an interesting path and experience that taught me a lot.
Did you have a technical background or were you a business person already?
No, I only had technical background at that time, and also in a different field. I'm a physicist by training
I love.
and an entrepreneur by experience,
Yes.
or by yeah.
Way things work out. So the and Futurigene, I'm assuming, is some sort of genetic technology, right? So bioscience.
Yes. Yes, it was biosciences. So very much outside of my field of expertise. And it was a learning experience. A lot to learn about how to start a company. And that was a long time ago. I think the idea was in 2000. We founded the company in 2001.
Okay, great. And so you went through that, and then did you follow it through all the way to exit, or what ultimately happened with the company?
So I was with the company until it went public, and then a few years into it.
Okay, so going public, a big success for any startup company. So you come to tech transfer with that experience. What did you learn at Futurigene that now informs what you're doing with dozens of other companies?
Yeah, good question. So I think that my experience as an entrepreneur really shapes my approach to how I do work here. So it's hard to stop being an entrepreneur. So I think I bring a little bit of the startup mentality to technology transfer and how we do technology transfer. So some openness, and not that tech transfer doesn't already do this, but I think that is something that I bring as well here. The openness to understand our customers, so our inventors and entrepreneurs that are launching companies, the ability to bootstrap some significant programs, right? And the agility and willingness to try something different when, you try and you fail and then you try again kind of approach.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the other thing is that I had been in their shoes, right? I had been in the shoes
Right.
of at least some of our customers. And so I know that the struggle is real. And I know why they need these programs. So I am kind of a customer also. I have a customer perspective as well. And so, I understand that university spinouts have unique challenges. There are unique opportunity, but also they have unique challenges. And I also then I think the other thing that I also bring, well, I mentioned Future Engine was 25 years ago. So I might be that grandpa that used to walk barefoot on snow. But I'm just like, back in my day.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you can do it. I believe in you, right? Like you can overcome this and be successful.
That's great. And a lot of times we do deal disproportionately with tech founders and tech transfer, right? And so a lot of times these are people who are really good at biotech or whatever science and might lack confidence in business. And these are things, you mentioned some programs, we'll talk about I-Corps in a minute, but there are programs to help those people be entrepreneurs and they can do it. And
Yes.
you've launched this year in 2024, it could be more since I saw the number, but 35 startups, which is a record. Let's talk about that. But that is across all 4 campuses, quite a few companies being launched, right?
So this is just the UC Boulder campus.
Really?
35 startups.
Oh, that's crazy. How many? So do you have the total, including the other campuses?
I do not, but I will get back to you on that.
Okay. Well, let me say, in case anyone doesn't know, so having 25 startups from a single campus in the year really puts you in the top couple of universities in the country producing startups. So to go to 35, that's a new record. I think the record had been Stanford with 32, right? Something like that. Anyway, so
38, yeah.
oh, it was a 3. Okay. Well, so how did you do it? What's the secret to launching lots of companies?
So I think when I joined this office some 10 years ago, we actually used to do maybe like 4 to 5 a year. So that was the baseline.
Lots of
startups.
opportunities like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these are the kind of startups that they would have made it anyway, right? They would have been there anyway. Kind of like my startup, right? And so I think that since then we had really developed, so we had really started thinking about our own mindset and how we approach tech transfer, and really being customer centric or customer first tech transfer office. And we launched a lot since 2016. We launched a lot of programs that slowly started creeping up that number to our prior record year, which was 20 startups. That was 20 startups just against CU Boulder. And then the leap from 20-ish to 35, I would say it's thanks to the Embark program. So Embark program is a new program that matches entrepreneurs with our best technologies. And I can dive into it. But okay, yeah. So it gave rise to 12 startups on top of what we would normally do. So it's startups that were not that wouldn't have happened, right? They were led by external entrepreneurs. So Embark is a matchmaking competition. So it's a 2-month program where we give external entrepreneurs access to our top technologies selected by us as having the most startup potential. They evaluate the technologies. So they find something that they like. Then they prepare a startup idea, and they pitch that idea in a pitch competition for some EIR, partial EIR salary to launch their company, and also a grant to the lab for like a proof of concept grant to their lab that is funded by our office. And so that in the first cohort, that gave rise to 12 startups. So without them, we would have been at 23. So again, still kind of going on.
Great year.
Right.
And where's when you're giving the partial salary awards, is there a special fund for that, or where does the money come from?
So the first year that we launched this program, it was actually a grant from the state of Colorado. So it was part of their rebuilding economy program, and so they gave us a grant and a great return on the investment. Right?
Yeah.
We have 12 companies, but now it's funded by the university, by the campus.
Okay. And the entrepreneurs that you work with in the Embark program, are these mainly going to be serial entrepreneurs, or these recent graduates? What are they like?
So it's a mix. I would say that there are some serial entrepreneurs. There's some executives from companies that want to do something different.
Oh, okay.
Right? They want to try being a founder. There were some more recent graduates that simply have the skills, right? So it's I would like to say that you don't have to, it's not your resume that gets you the job. It's what you do with the technology and the ideas that you put forward.
Yeah, so there's a strata of people, and I know people like this who are in major companies. They're smart, they have the skills, business savvy, but taking the leap to going with no salary to launch a company is hard to do. So maybe that's the secret here. Are you filling in that for them?
So it is definitely a motivation to help those entrepreneurs who might not be able to simply live without a job for however long, to provide them with that funding so that they can actually have this nice pad to start a company. And of course, the program doesn't end when they win the salary. That's when the cohort starts, right? So then there's the cohort of the entrepreneurs, and they again are drowned in our resources and programs. So they apply for the funding, they do our accelerator, they do the I-Corps program. They do it themselves. It's not clearly not the inventor that is leading the effort, but often inventors actually get very excited when they see the opportunity, and they we made some good matches there where both of them get excited about the opportunity, and then at the end there's a showcase, and also they apply for Destination Startup, which is one of our flagship programs as well, for dilutive funding.
Okay. And the how do you attract people to the program? The entrepreneurs, now you might have critical mass, but initially, how did you get people to apply?
Yeah, so we are currently working on a strategy to kind of grow the popularity of the program, but we reached out to our mentor network. So some of our mentors were interested. Some of our mentors engaged because they're looking for a new opportunity. And then, all the local entrepreneurs, also we blasted the message nationwide. So in the first cohort, I think half of our cohort was from outside of Colorado. We also reached out to all the local networks that cater to entrepreneurs, and just spread the message. We had something like 120 applicants, and then ultimately 10 of them won the program.
Okay, fantastic. So if you're in Colorado and you're in a company, you want to launch a business, no excuses. You need to contact the office.
If you're in Colorado, for sure, but even if you're outside of Colorado,
okay,
you're welcome.
Okay, great. Well, good. So, and you mentioned I-Corps, and so if people don't know, I-Corps is this federal program that provides training, typically for professors and students. Then you go through a series of classes. It's forced validation. You have to talk to 100 customers, and so that makes the ideas much more real, more marketable. That's my quick summary of it. But how does that fit into what you're doing?
Forced validation. I like that. So we actually, first of all, the I-Corps Hub and the I-Corps program, it resides at Venture Partners. So at the Tech Transfer Office, it's part of the Tech Transfer Office, which, as far as I know, is not a typical way of doing, of having this resource at a university.
Yeah, I think there's one other place I know. We used to have one at BYU. We don't currently, But University of Utah, as part of their tech transfer, they do have an I-Corps center too that we're able to use. But yeah, agreed. Those are exceptional cases. I've heard.
Yep. And so I was thinking about this recently, and why that's helpful for us, right? Because it probably works both ways, but why is it helpful for us in particular? And I think that when it's part of that, the venture partners, so we're that closest circle of trust for our inventors, right? So they know that case manager, they know. So when I say like, hey, let's go do the starting blocks, it's an internal program. They don't have to, go outside of the university to another university or to another department, to the business school. Some of them are willing to do those things, but some of them maybe not. And so that really, keeping that program, and it really allows the case managers and the inventors to really feel like we have ownership of this and this is like our thing. And so maybe they're more likely to do it. So the other thing that we do is we really strive for all of our inventors to go through the mini course. So not the medium course, which we call R2M, but mini course, which is starting blocks. It's 3 mornings over the course of 3 weeks. I think it's 5 interviews maybe. So you really get introduction to why it's important to talk to customers, to understand what is product market fit. You get, introduction to what is a value proposition. And it's probably not what you think. And then, ultimately also the business model canvas, but it's like the super, super light touch of, for I-Corps. And we strive to have everybody, participate in that program because we think that it really can help them be, regardless of whether they're starting a company or not, it can help them be competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really smart. And I saw a number that you had 105 teams go through the training. Would that be the mini training, or do you have that many doing the whole thing?
I would have to get back to you on that. I think it might be all of it, but we run the starting blocks 4 times a year. And then we do R2M twice a year.
Okay.
R2M has 25 to 30 interviews.
And when you say inventors, is that going to be mostly professors or their grad students? Who would it be?
So both. So sometimes we have professors themselves join the program, but I would say predominantly it's graduate students and maybe postdocs from the lab. So it's a good for them as well, right? To learn about entrepreneurship and learn how to talk about their what they made. That might also be helpful for them when they're looking for a job if they don't want to start a company.
Yeah, well, and many of our grad students are the best entrepreneurs to take companies out. Also, they're passionate about the technology, decide what they want to do yet. So that can be a great route to go. They can be a little tricky to connect with. How do you contact all of them?
The graduate students?
Yeah.
So that's a good question for the I-Corps team, but
Okay, that's all right.
we do blast. We have an amazing communications person and communications team, so we blast it to the campus, but also we as case managers and really everybody at Venture Partners. Again, this is part of the you're part of the team, so we are all invested in getting teams to the program, and so it's all hands on deck. We reach out individually to people. If we know somebody that we think would benefit from it, we simply email them. We cater our message to what we think is important to our inventors and to researchers. They don't have to yet be declared inventors at that time. And and that's how we fill the program, and it is pretty much always full. That's why we do it 4 times a year.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Have you gotten any media attention for the startups you've launched and hitting that number this year?
So yes. There's some maybe local media that have picked up on definitely on the Embark program.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah,
happy.
you deserve some attention. That's all I'm saying. And I think I think your
I
office.
think maybe that will happen after autumn comes out with their numbers.
Okay. Yeah, well, probably so, but we're ahead of that. People can see this and know that they need to get it out there. The I think your office is kind of mid-size. Like, how many people do you have working in tech commercialization?
So altogether, everybody, I-Corps, venture development, business development, case management, admin, support staff, communications, I would say it's about 22, 24 people, something like that.
Okay. Okay. I see a small office typically as being like ours, like full-time employees typically, just maybe 40-ish. So yeah, you're probably about mid-size. The So you're obviously active in a lot of areas to have that many companies, have that many I-Corps teams. Are there any particular industries or technology areas that are kind of Colorado strengths?
So, yeah, so we think about that a lot. And so you could probably look at the successes of companies that launched maybe before our programs, those 4 to 5 startups a year. And so it's definitely a lot of human health, there's therapeutics, drug discovery, batteries, software, things like that. But I think in the most recent years, when we really put our heads to it, it turned out that it is quantum and a clean tech or climate resilience. And that is supported by the fact that we just got the engine grant. So this is the Wyoming, Colorado engine grant, and then also Elevate Quantum Award.
Okay, terrific. So huge growth areas. It seems like you have a lot of things figured out in terms of process, how you're running the office. But what do you see as kind of remaining challenges in tech transfer?
So I would say it's a good question.
Well, there's some impracticable problems. I would say an intractable problem is in any invention disclosure we receive, we're guessing what the commercial product would be. I think you're doing the best thing you can do, which is to get things quickly to market to solve that problem. Are there any other things though you see as kind of the big tech transfer issues?
So I think that maybe the biggest issue is that we're putting a lot on our inventors to do, right? There are rock stars in their labs. Their jobs are 1.5 FTE or more. I don't even know. They work really, really hard, and they're rock stars, rock star PIs. And then we tell them, okay, and now also spin out a company. Right. And so I think that is a challenge for just moving some of those technologies because not all the inventors have to want to spin out a company. And not every invention is suitable for a partnership with an existing company. And so how do you fill this gap? Right. So I think we're trying to solve that gap with the Embark program where, we say, OK, you don't have to do either one of those things. You don't have to find a partner or else your technology is dead, or spin out a company or else, again, nothing is going to happen with it, right? Like we're going to spin out a company for you and then you can partner with them.
Okay. That's a real problem, a real issue for us all to deal with. Like we don't want to burden our professors, but we do want to, it'd be nice if we just posted a video this last week with Jeff Jenkins, one of our professors who had an exit recently. And he pointed out how going through the startup process has made him a better instructor. And he's talked about that. So I wish, that would make sense or all professors would see it that way. When you're talking to a professor and saying, or a grad student and saying, we want you to do the I-Corps program, what's the selling point? How do you convince them that that's a good idea?
So we don't always manage, but you really have to look at what what motivates the PI. So what is important, their top priorities. So this is one thing about our office is we really strive to walk the talk. So everything that we teach, we also want to apply ourselves. So we also look at our customer and what their top priorities are. What, how they get rewarded, what strings pull on them. And then, starting a company is usually not the top 5 priorities of a university professor, right? So, we basically we realized that those things that we're offering through the I-Corps program are useful for them regardless, right? So they are going to be useful in getting grants so that they can get students or fund students, so that they can publish papers, so that they can get more students and more grants and then get tenure, right? So this is one selling point. And then also jobs in academia, right? Like they are finite. And so if students are looking to work for the industry, either they might learn to sell that technology or speak about that technology with a value proposition in mind when they're looking for a job, or they often end up spinning out or creating their own job, right? And that is super exciting when they become the CEO of their own company.
That's great. And I've seen that argument really resonate. I was speaking to one of our programming, like computer science professors just the other week, and he said, look, I'm trying to find jobs for all our students who come through here. There aren't enough of the type of jobs they want, so we've got to launch companies. So that could be a driver that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned some outside entities that have helped you, and probably, I know we're about out of time, but you mentioned the government grant that was helpful. Obviously, I-Corps is an outside program that's helpful. Are there any industry groups or, are there accelerators or anything like that nearby near Boulder that are helpful to you?
So absolutely. We are fortunate enough to be in an area with so many national labs. So actually government labs, NIST, and NREL, we collaborate with them the most. I think NIST might be one of our biggest collaborators. And then, of course, the local all the local programs like Techstars, Innosphere, that is up in Fort Collins by CSU. They actually used to be the accelerator where we sent our teams, and we still do. That after they graduate from Ascent, or when they're ready, because sometimes they're simply not ready for something like that. So those are our partners. And I have to say that just generally this region is very collaborative, and I think that was essential in us getting those awards, right, and getting those grants, because we got together. So this is not just a CU Boulder success, right? It's a regional success.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about all these paths and collaborations that you have, do you have in your mind, or maybe it's written down somewhere, like a flow chart where you would say, here's where this professor is at, here's where they go next? Or how do you track the process?
Yes, so we do have the honeycomb slide, which is kind of like a bridge with all these tiles, and they kind of get a prescription for, okay, you go here, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. Not all of them fit all of the programs, but you can kind of imagine a bridge that takes you that is supposed to take you more safely from one end to the other, right?
Yeah.
But I always laugh that this bridge. So if you can put all the tiles together, it looks like wow, it's a complete bridge. But I know that if you take a magnifying glass and you look really closely, there's still gaps that you can fall through. So we're always working on new programs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, Marta, thanks for explaining all this. You guys are doing a fantastic job. And I hope people understand how impressive those numbers are, as well as all the systems and things you have in place. Thanks for sharing that with us. That football game will be fun, but this is fascinating. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.